Pleasure to have you all. Tonight we are talking to Daniel Rabadan, aka Go Up from Down with the Multi out of Spain. Before I let him introduce himself, we just saw the promo video for the new line they are doing in cooperation with Celtic Frost. They have managed to do a stunning line of items that we will highlight again, I guess, at the end of the video, if that's okay. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Field, Whitefield, for having me. It's a really pleasure. I've been following your steps on the channel for quite a while. It's always great to having the opportunity of talking black metal, talking on the rock music, speaking with someone who is really passionate about what this culture of us means for everybody, like ourselves.
Likewise. I've been following the label. I'm not going to say since the inception, but definitely since 2017. But we'll get into that when we get there. Yeah, likewise. I mean, the passion that bleeds out of the label is incredible. But we already talked about that, I guess. We have been talking for a while, planning to do this. That's how it always goes. You need to find the time to sit together to hash out what we're going to do. But we finally made it work this time. Danielle, I like how these things always go. I wanted to get your journey into black metal, your journey into life and music. So, how did you grow up, or how did you find this kind of music, this passion we share?
Well, actually, I think I started like everybody else when I was 12 years old, a long way ago. It was like 1987. I just turned 50 this year. Not worrying, yeah, no worry about telling my age. I was introduced to heavy metal. Basically, more than being introduced, I was really curious about the aesthetics of the whole genre. It was something that was really hype back then here in Spain, and it always grabbed my attention. All the aesthetics, mostly the t-shirts, the merchandise, the general look and appearance of the metalheads back then. So it was like a natural progression for me, I guess. On the other hand, because some of the themes that this music always deals with, some of the visuals, it is connected. Also had a sort kind of link with other things that since I was really young at age attracted me, like was like the obscure, or maybe you could say death and things like that. So maybe it was like a perfect match. So basically, I started listening to heavy metal when I was 12. It wasn't until I turned up to late 60s, 16, 70s. It took me like a nearly 4 or 5 years journey to really get used to more heavier stuff. I made my early contacts like everybody else, like with thrash metal, but it was not something that everybody, all bands I was really connecting with. Even so, I had like sort kind of resistance, or I think I wasn't in its right time frame, to get into it. But something switched all of a sudden. At the beginning of late 1891, early 92, I had a friend who was heavily into thrash metal, but also started his journey through death and black metal. Started to introduce me to bands. That was the moment, for example, like a band like Sepultura was at the hype of their popularity with the era. But you started like digging into bands and so on, and then I came really close. At that stage, I jumped into the more obscure and stream kind of sounds. Then I discovered Inuri by Sarcophago, and it's like a life changer for me. So at the beginning, it was like everything that was Black Death, even some grindcore stuff. Never was really a fan of punk or hardcore stuff, but all that made sense for me. With time, it was like the darker the death metal was, the blacker the black metal was. It was like my perfect match. So, and I had it was a perfect timing because we are speaking about 1992. So, yeah, there were people that were already from the late 90s, the early 90s, but 1992 was like year black metal exploded. Mostly underground level. maybe took like a year later with the events on Norway and so on to the full entire genre to get a full worldwide attention, and then from then onwards it was like exploding. But those were like pivotal years for and really a really special moment to discover black metal
Yeah.
because most of many of the classics albums from that second wave were released, and I was living then on real time. So it was like a really enlightening journey, and at the same time it was getting back to the roots and discovering the old bands, be it Venom, Celtic Frost. Actually, I never liked Venom when I started listening to them when I was 12. Or I got a really good story because my brother gave me gifted me with a Venom live album in I think when I was 15. I sold it away and traded for a Black Sabbath greatest hits album. But then when I was going back to the roots, I reconnected with everything. Yeah, that's what that's basically it.
Sometimes you have to find the right entry point. I think the live Venom album is maybe not the live or the best entry point, but when you're there, you're there. Is it a
Yeah.
coincidence that you is it a coincidence that you discovered Sepultura and Sarcophago first? Is there a connection
Uh,
in South America?
Actually, Sepultura were really big already. I remember the first time I read about them, it was when I was totally basically into heavy metal, because I remember first Metal Hammer magazine I bought was I think in 1989, 89, and I read an article, an interview about Sepultura releasing the Beneath Remains album. So I saw all those covers, and I remember seeing on Metal Hammer and other magazines like these advertising pages with incredible shitload of merchandise from all these obscure bands. Many of them were for noise, actually. It was Celtic Frost Creator
Yeah.
and the likes. But it was something I was never attracted per se. I was trying to catch up, but no, Sepultura made like an incredible progression in terms of popularity back then. So actually, they played in their Ice tour. They played here in 1991. I didn't attend, okay, and but at that point I thought they were just noise. But months later, I was starting going to clubs and heavy metal discos, and you were starting to get used to, because they have segments of the evenings that they were playing maybe 3 4 thrash metal songs, whatever, and then it clicked to me, and then they came back in less than a year back to Spain, like they do a second leg of the tour. That's one of the first shows well, not the first shows, but one of the first thrash metal shows, if not the first one I ever attended.
Okay.
So, or thrust death, whatever you want to call that era. I know it's not cool nowadays for a black metal owner to say that that was my baptism of fire with Sepultura, but it was how it was. So yeah, I think it was maybe a coincidence, because some people may be aware of the existence of Drowned Productions from Spain in the early 90s, which were
Yeah.
basically releasing the metal albums, like the Demigod first record. And the owner, Dave Rotten, was working. Actually, the label, he started as an underground label releasing demos. But when he had the opportunity of putting all those records back, because he signed an alliance with a heavy metal shop here in Madrid, which was called Hard Vinyl. It was like the temple for heavy metal. They have an incredible selection of imports back then from anything. So they decided to bring a lot of material from basically anything. So my friend just, I've told this story several times, but he came one of the days he was actually having his first job, so he was like spending every peseta, was like the currency back then, every cent he had on records. On one of these vinyl haunting frenzy episodes, he saw a copy of Inri, and then he bought it just by the cover. Which is basically why you purchase many records back then. So we were making in the line of one of these heavy metal clubs in Spain, in Madrid, which is basically the place to go. Most of the shows also were happening there, and he told me about this record of this Brazilian band. We didn't even knew that they were connected to Sepultura. No,
No.
no, no. But he told me about the image and so on, and I didn't saw the cover, but I was already in even before listening to that, Yeah, yeah. So he told me it's like Destruction or Sodom, but like over and
Extreme.
over, yeah, an overdose, and it quite nailed that. When I listen to that crazy drumming, the sound, the imperfection, because you cannot make a Morbid Angel album if you don't have the
Yeah.
technical skills, of
Mhm.
course. But Inuri is like the perfect accident. They were barely were able to play. They did okay, but I already had like, I was learning English back then, but I was perfectly aware of the many mistakes on the lyrics, and so on. But I found it like fascinating, so. Then the connection with the fact that they were from Brazil and so on, it was like, yeah, it was really crazy. And then on, it was 1992. Then Osmose were starting to release one album after the other, which were like basics of the genre. I remember one of the first black metal albums I bought was Worship Him from Samuel, which I bought at a local record store at my town, which it's like a 90,000 people town, but back then it was like a small shop, but the record was there. So I remember, yeah. So yeah, that was basically it was. We didn't knew so many things as we know right now. It's like, yeah, you were learning as you were
Mhm.
progressing, contacting people, and so on. And then I started doing a fan sign, like 6 months later. That it was like it changed everything for me.
Yeah. I hear I hear a lot of people say that it used to be harder to find bands just because of the mailing lists and the flyers instead of how we do it now with the internet. But I think if you look back, the system worked a bit better in the sense that if you found a band through mail order or through flyers, it was always a good band. There were not too many shitty bands, you know, making the rounds in those flyer
Yeah,
catalogs.
it's really funny because even back then, and I was a newcomer to the scene, and people that was around for what 3 4 years in max, because Spain is not the kind of country that has like a large population of people which has been engaged with like a scene that came back to the root from the 80s. Just really really few people that made that journey. But even so, the word saturation was like the scene is saturated, it's going to explode, it's going to collapse. That was 1982, So yeah, and you can even compare the amount of bands that are out nowadays and are trying to get a piece of the cake, basically in order to grasp people attention compared to what you had back then, Yeah, I remember going through Leeds underground mail orders, or the amount of flyers you were getting, or the signs you were reading. But you could get track somehow of most of the names back then, even if they look like an endless sea of bands to discover and to listen to at some point. It's nothing compared to what is today, for sure.
Yeah, it's true. Did you notice in Spain that there was an uptick when the when the big break came, like when let's say Norwegian the scene exploded Spain?
Oh no, 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 no! It wasn't the case because Spain has been a country where that everything related to metal has been like a delayed in time. It's curious because we were part of Spain, of Europe or Europe. Yeah, it's true that the country went through a dictatorship that lasted for 4 decades. So, but first metal bands started appearing in 81, like Baron Rojo, Bus, and the likes, which were basically bands who were transitioning from traditional rock into this sort of kind of music. But even so, the first bands didn't sound like really, really heavy metal at all. It was like a proto kind of attempt of doing that. First, I will say that first pure heavy metal record was the Ángeles del Infierno album, first one, Pacto con el Diablo, which came in 1984. That's basically that's a milestone of heavy metal, and it could compete musically with any European bands and so on. But the first thrash metal albums were released in Spain about 1898, 1989. So
Yeah,
it
that's
was,
right.
yeah, that's what like the movement was declining. So it can give you an idea how
Yeah.
delayed the scene was. Which was curious because sometimes you can say, yeah, oh, it was because of the dictatorship during Spain and so on, but you have all these countries from South America that going through brutal regimes, or
Yep.
even bands from the iron behind the Iron Curtain that were having all these incredible scenes that we worship nowadays. Which
Yep.
those demos and rare albums are like foundational pillars of this movement.
Mhm.
So no, it didn't explode in real time. Actually, it was like death metal was the big thing even back in 1992.
Yep.
Black metal wasn't the kind of thing that most of the people was super crazy about. It took a while, it took a while. Then from 1994, 1995 onwards, it was a total different kind of thing. But it was mock somehow, or it wasn't so popular. Yeah, of course, it was an increase in interest. I couldn't say that we were just a bunch of diehards, but it was an increase in interest, but it's not nothing compared, for example, to what happened in other countries.
Yeah.
We have our share of bands that were starting doing that, but most of the black metal bands, we can speak about later because last year, well, yeah, just yesterday was the anniversary of the official launch of a Spanish documentary that was filmed about the scene, black metal scene from Barcelona in the
Yeah.
early 90s, which was like the epitome of the scene back then. I was interviewed for the documentary a couple of
That's,
years ago.
that's Black Salona, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That Barcelona is like a game of words between mixing Barcelona and the scene. So yeah, that's the documentary. That's a really good one. I don't know if it's gonna be like a um, English version of somehow. It's been just been released on Blu-ray. I don't know if the
Yep.
Blu-ray has got like a translation or subtitles or something like that. Not yet. But yeah, most of the bands started appearing there. Actually, there were bands about in 1992, but first demos started coming in 1993, 1994. So that gives you an idea how delayed the scene was.
Yeah. 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 One of the demos is one that you put out, the Azagort. Um, that was one of the bands.
Sorry,
That
which
was
one?
Azagort.
Ah, Asgaroth. Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Asgaroth. Asgaroth was one of the first bands, the black metal bands in Spain. Actually, they weren't the first, but they were the first. Were the second. There was the first band to put a CD. Okay, it was on like an EP, a CD EP. Was a band from Barcelona called Blasphemy, and they released two EPs back then. But the first one was released, I think it was in 1995.
Ah,
Then Asgaroth released their first. They released a demo in 1995, which is
mhm.
the Sons of War, which was the one I made a reissue last year as the side B of their first EP that only came on CD in 1996. That CD was called The Quest for Eldenor, and it was released on New Gotia Records. It was the first 100% black metal label that
Yep.
was ever created in Spain. And that year, they released the Atman album, which was basically a black metal kind of with a certain black metal band with a certain kind of approach of technical approach and some soprano voices and so on. And the first CD EP of band I was singing back then in 1996, which was called Sharathorn. So those three releases came in a gap of what, a couple of months. It was basically the other releases the label did, and later on they did the first Asgaroth full
Yep.
length album. But yeah, the thing with this black metal scene from then, all of us were guilty of copying what all other bands were doing, basically from Scandinavia. In the case of my band, we were trying to have like a more, it wasn't something like chauvinistic or nationalism, but very pretty much rooted in the culture. Not I wouldn't say pagan because it was more related to the influence of evil into our culture, and this southern countries been having this European countries having this heavy weight of the Christian influence, the Catholic Church, superstition. It's a world of contrast, between what's really really pure and the other side. But we never follow, for example, the steps in terms of trying to achieve something different, like the bands from Italy or Greece or even Portugal were doing. You have bands in Portugal, you have which is I think it's a really underrated scene, because I think the Moonspell demo and the Moonspell EP, the Feeling Grantium demo era, the first Decade album. I think the first Decade album, the Conjuration of the Southern Circle, is it could look in the eyes to any black metal albums from Norway, even back then. But it was released by a Portuguese band. But on the other hand, you have bands from Greece that made it, or Italy, and are living up to this day. You have a Mortuary Drape or Rocking Christ or whatever. The Spanish scene never followed those steps, for whatever the reason. It was like copying what the others were doing. So yeah, the scene was evolving, but not really. It wasn't really original in any sense, compared to.
Did the separation of the country play into that? That there were big parts of Spain, like the Basque Country,
Yeah, basically it was Barcelona, which was like 90% of the bands were over there, and the scene in Barcelona was always, even when it came to touring bands, all these legendary tours that, or part of those legendary tours, they're organized by Metalist agency from, I think they were from Belgium, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, my memory serves me right, which would put all these tours by Osmose Productions, the Fuck Christ tour, or the Absu tours, any of these. They started arriving in Barcelona. They were playing shows basically in Barcelona. Some of them even in the base country, but they never reached Madrid, never. And Madrid is like So that can give you an idea that even in the thrash metal days, I think it's not, going back to Sepultura. I think it's not a coincidence that, for example, that Sepultura show for 1992, I don't remember the Under Sick, I think it was the live home video they record, but it was recorded in Barcelona in 1991.
Okay.
So yeah, the venue was great, but the people there was crazy, and it was crazy about those kind of music. But yeah, the bass country had a few bands. I think they were more they were starting to appear mostly, but most of them in the second half of the 90s. But in the first half, it was like no, not really. The rest of the country was like something really scattered,
Yeah.
nothing that you can you could it wasn't really huge, something really huge.
No, no connected scene. Did you travel for those tours, or did you see any?
Oh, actually, first time I think I traveled to a show was in 1994.
Mhm.
It was no, I didn't. No, it was, I already have traveled a couple of times for shows, but some of those shows were like in the middle of the week. I was studying back then, so actually, my first show I ever saw outside Madrid was in 1992, March 1992, was the Ozzy Osbourne No More Tours tour. Yeah, so yeah, I saw Ozzy on his farewell tour in 1992. So but it lasted for 33 years, the farewell tour.
Farewell,
But I up to this day I can really understand how my parents allowed me to attend, because I was 16 years old. Yeah, then. So that was one of these organized trips that our radio station were putting together. You jump into a bus. You early in the Saturday. Then you saw the show, and when the show was over, you have a 9 hours drive from Madrid to Barcelona, Barcelona to Madrid. But yeah, and I think the first show I saw outside Madrid, but it wasn't one of these it was Samael were playing, were doing a tour. I think it was Desultory and Cannibal Corpse. It was like they made a festival with two tours that were more or less about the time. Yeah, they merged that with a shitload of bands. But I saw Samael on the Ceremony of the Opposites tour, and it was mind blowing. I know for me, I always like, of course, worshiping is like it's a foundational, it's a masterpiece when it comes to black metal, and it's the quintessential album everybody attends to. But even I really like Blood Ritual, and Ceremony of the Opposite is a really strong album in my opinion. The lyrics are up to this day some of the best ones I have read ever. Borfalak was incredible, and the energy of them back then. I have photos of that show. I somewhere in boxes, but I have to unearth them because I have never scanned them. Yeah, I jump into Borfalak after the show, and I ended up doing an interview for my sign with I record on a recorded, but I never I never came into print with Sister Ruptor on the backstage. But it was one of the things I brought my recorder and I jumped into it, and it was quite a weird kind of thing. But I was 19. I was going all for it. I was driven by passion. I still up to this day, but doing things in a different way.
You were was this around the time you were studying, right?
I was studying already. Well,
You were
actually, sorry.
you were studying journalism, right?
Yeah, I was studying journalism. Well, actually, first year, that year I was studying biology. Okay, I wanted to study medicine, but it didn't get. I didn't make it because you have the cut qualifications you need to do. So I ended up doing biology, but it wasn't something for me. I struggled. That's something I wanted to do, or I thought I wanted to do. Okay, but like many of us at that age, I was kind of lost, or didn't. I wasn't follow my gut instinct. It was
Yeah.
like maybe I thought it was something. I didn't. I didn't have a clue about what I was going to do. So
No.
I struggled a lot with science high school, and when I came into the university, and it was like first year of biology was math, physics, chemistry, biochemistry, statistic. It was math. So I quit the first year. Then I switched to journalism, which because I was already writing science back then,
Yeah.
and I always had a connection about writing, and I think it's one of the I could say that's one of my strengths without bragging, but so I think that's something that I started exploring. I didn't study the place I wanted, but I had to make something a move because my first year in the university the biology was something like a disaster. But I was already working at the same time because I was raised on a family which owns a company. My parents are pure working class people that came from really depressed origins. So it was like something cultural for me. So I was working on summers, where sometimes in the some afternoons. Then all the 4 years I spent at college studying journalism, I was working on the mornings with the family, and then of the afternoons I was studying journalism. So I was doing both.
Yeah. Is it around the same time because you mentioned it, I was going to use the journalism as a bridge because you were writing for a zine or you had a zine.
Yeah, I had a scene. I made two issues. The
Yeah.
sign was called Gospel of Darkness. It was
Okay.
written on Spanish. It made quite a stir back in the day, especially the second issue. Actually, I made the second issue with like something like nearly 80 pages, and even made a compilation tape that came with the sign. So started doing the first issue in 1992, finished in 93, then made the second number, and yeah, it was quite popular back then here in Spain, and up to this day, it's like people have it on great regard. But basically, people from Spain, I was covering from black death metal, some grindcore stuff,
Yeah.
doom metal, yeah. So I was starting working on a third issue and had plans also for doing a side sign, mostly related, exclusively related to black metal. And I started doing interviews and so on. But that was the moment I was studying biology. Then I got lost personally in that year because it was like uh, I was going with the flow. You were supposed to do something. You were supposed to having studied 4 years in high school to do this degree that was going nowhere. I was starting partying like crazy, because it was so my mind started went in other directions. My passion for music was there,
Mhm.
okay, but my time was more focused on hedonism more than doing that. So I basically the whole project doing the sign got incredible delayed. I had an agreement with Stream Music from Spain. No, 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 no. Sorry. After Drowned Productions Fallout, the label, they made Refuse Records, and they put a compilation CD that was going to be released with a sign, which was quite a thing for 1995.
Yep.
Okay, especially in Spain. But things got completely delayed on my end, ridiculously delayed. So I jumped into other things. Um, it was a difficult time for me in the sense that I was starting singing on Sheraton. I was committed to the band, but I lost maybe the spark of doing that sign because I have so many distractions then, it's something that with the perspective of years, the fact that I'm doing the label full time now has reconnected me with what I should have done maybe 35 years before, So, but it's never is too late. It's never too late.
That's true. Do you think, because you always talk about the Spanish scene being delayed, and then again with the you not having enough time to do the scene, but do you think the language barrier also because you decided to write the entire thing in Spanish? Imagine it
Oh,
would be in English. Same with
yeah.
same with the
Sorry,
Plex no, same with the
sorry.
Plex documentary.
Yeah.
It's all in Spanish.
Yes. The thing is that I never had a problem with the language, okay, because I studied in a public school, but when
Mhm.
I switched to a private school in for high when I started high school. So I was supposed to learn a lot of English over there, but every year was pretty much going over and over through the same thing, going with emotion. But the fact of being interested in music and the moment I started digging into the underground, it was like the vehicle. The language was like the vehicle.
Yeah.
So in all my naive approach about doing design, I want to do choose a two version sign, one in English and one in Spanish. I underestimated the amount of work that was doing a sign in one language. So the moment it's not like nowadays you can go, you put all your tests on a translator, and then in a matter of seconds you will have it translated. It will be like an ordeal to do that. So
Yeah.
it basically made no sense. I didn't even thought about it was a better idea to do in Spanish. It's not like with the perspective of the time you say, yeah, well, it should have made sense to do that way. But on the other hand, it was like you didn't thought about you jump into things. But in my case, it wasn't because the language was a problem for me, which wasn't.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it was as fluent as I am nowadays, but I could defend myself really well already. Um, but yes, on the other hand, Spain has been a country that, as always, I always say that people in Spain, you compare, for example, Spain to Portugal, and Portugal, people over there, maybe they, of course, they also have a stronger connection with for historical reasons with Great Britain. But at the same time, Spain is a country which has been hosting tourists for decades. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. It's not. It was nowadays. It's not that common, but up to a few years ago, it was really, really common that you go anywhere on the seaside in Spain, which is the whole economy is based on tourism, and you have a lot of people that don't speak a single word of English, which is quite strange. So there's a joke which says, "Who is Spanish? Somebody who is trying his entire life trying to learn English." It's like like a short kind of internal joke when you are speaking languages or learning languages here. Um, I think there's also this feeling how of being mistreated, but it's not being mistreated. It's something that we have a certain, or the country has a certain level of I wouldn't say to put into words, like feeling inferior to other countries, or instead of going for it and fight for it and do it and do it, it's like no, because if it will be Germans or will be Norwegians or we any label will sign our band, it's something really cultural here. It's like having like this feeling of self-pityness. It's like it never helped the scene whatsoever. And the worst part of it all is up to this day, that kind of aura or charm or bad charm is still present over there.
Yeah.
So why? I can't tell you. But it didn't help. All those bands from Brazil that could barely speak English, but they were doing contacts all over the world. And already in 1980, I always think about a band like Misty Fire writing those lyrics about black magic. It was, and they managed to make their research, but you never will have something like that in Spain, not even close in 1999 or not even close in 1995. It was like crazy, but they jump into it and they dare to think and feel big, not like us. I don't know which were the reasons, but it was quite weird.
It is quite weird, yeah. It feels like everything Spain has ever done is just for Spain.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it was something that also happened with many of the heavy metal bands from Spain. Of course, singing in the language, because people here is like they see even a certain stupid feeling of proudness about not knowing English. I would be ashamed of not knowing a language. I'm telling you, we have a good share of immigration from Latin America here in Spain.
Mhm.
But South American people try to pronounce English the proper way. You know,
Mhm.
recently it was like somebody had told me, or I don't remember how it was, but a guy from South America say, "Why people you say Slayer instead of say Slayer?" You know, so
Yeah.
so basically that's it. It's so rude. Even myself, when I'm speaking to other Spanish, it's not. But I don't pronounce that. Don't pronounce those names sometimes the way they are. I don't say are they from chaos. I say are they from chaos. You know,
Uh-huh.
because it's like I not because I'm ashamed. Sometimes I'm aware that I'm not going to be understood by some of the people I'm speaking to. I'm not calling anybody to be an idiot, but it's something that is deeply rooted, and of course it had an impact somehow. The first bands that I will say that broke the rules in that sense, I will say that in the black metal field were basically Proclamation and Tainted Blood.
Mm.
They didn't give a crap from where they came. They wrote their books by the rules. Um, yeah, but we are speaking about what 2001, 2002, 2003. It's mind blowing that a band like that with such an approach came that late. Not only musically, but in the sense of not feeling that being from Spain, not doing music for Spain, doing music for the sake of doing music
Yeah.
and promoting your music and spreading your music like the way it should be. You are in the underground culture.
They take once again it's a delay, but they take the boastness and the fierceness of blasphemy and just put it into their context, I guess, with the entire war metal approach. But that's a band that I think has the more international appeal out of all the bands that I've written down or that we talked about, like Baron Rojo and stuff like that. I think that's one of the first bands that really carved out something for themselves. Although I'm not going to say they're a blasphemy clone because that's not
Because
right.
no, of course, it's not right.
Definitely not right. But it's in the same world as them.
Yeah, basically the thing with proclamation, I say this all the time because it's like a recurring question or a subject that came into the conversation when you are speaking with people, especially from abroad. We are curious about the scene, and they always came to be an example. In my case, I have a strong, I have a strong link with the band, not only because I've released their stuff, because I have the privilege to call them brothers.
Yes.
We have a friendship that goes beyond just being friendship. It's like I have an incredible bond with all of them. But on the other hand, I have the fondest respect for what they made, and same thing for Tate and Blood. Um, yeah, you are totally right in that sense. The thing is that most of the people didn't understand what they were about because what is war metal? It's I think I think that they were a war metal band in the sense that they were writing these lyrics. Yeah, war was a part of that, but for me, war metal is all these bands that came um, post in 2005, something like that, with Gas Max, which were clones of the clones of the clones, and they were even worse. That were basically a cartoon kind of thing, you know?
I think
Yeah,
maybe I think maybe war metal is not the. I think the bestial moniker for them is better in the sense that the war metal and bestial kind of go hand in hand in some cases. But
yeah,
bestial, you can say that Beharit is a bestial band in some cases. But I think the sound or the term bestial is better for them. Just that ravenous, that yeah, just that fierce, wild kind of music that they make. It suits better to them than war metal because I don't know. I don't think it fits them properly.
yeah. I think the best black death metal is a much better appropriate term, you know?
Yeah,
Sometimes we try always to categorize what a black metal band is, but for instance, you know, there was this moment in the 90s when people thought that black metal was just shrieking vocals in
yeah,
the Norwegian style,
yeah.
and they said, yeah, Rotting Christ are black metal, Mortuary Drape are black metal, Sarcophago are black metal. They doesn't sound like bands but for me. Oh, they are black metal because they don't wear the same kind of makeup, they don't have the same kind of voice, they don't have the same kind of musical patterns. I think the categorization of black metal as style, I think it's maybe sometimes it's contradictory because we like all of us we are purists about what this music should be. Think there should be strong certain kind of principles, and at the same time, this music is an apology for black rules.
Yeah.
So
That that's the dichotomy in the entire thing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So, but basically, for me, black metal is when it's not about the tone of the music. It's not about the riffing. It's not about. It's about the feel, the
Yeah.
feel you transmit with the music. Same thing with death metal. Sometimes are those bands which tend to oscillate between the two genres with so much difference. When you have a really evil, dark sounding death metal band with a really callous kind of sound, if they sound bestial, not brutal, but bestial, as you were quoting,
Hmm.
the link or the bond on the connection, the way they merge and they melt with the black metal essence is sometimes difficult for me to differentiate. You know, in my case, I speak of myself, and I not I for many years it's like I was speaking about black metal. I say, oh, black metal is this, is that. No, it's not like I have opened my mind about it. Okay, but I don't try to write my own gospel about how it should be. But the
Hmm.
way I understand black metal is if I listen to that and I have the feeling that it's a black metal band, is there. You know, yeah, there is the influence. There is certain aspects. In my case, the imagery and the mystique is everything for this music, and it's an incredible part. I could never call a black metal band if you sound like incredible, but you are wearing shorts. It's like no way, no, it's a no-brainer for me. You know.
Okay. Maybe it's that simple. No shorts.
Sorry.
Maybe it's that simple. If you wear shorts, it's not black metal.
Yeah, yeah. For example, no, that's I know, sounds stupid, but yeah, but there are many, in my case, there are many red lines, regarding that. But
Yeah.
for me, everything is about the feeling. Back to Proclamation is when they always say that they wanted to write music before, when they wanted to write music the way, or back to the days, the definitions for these styles weren't really a thing. You go back in history and read reviews about Celtic Frost, Bathory, Possessed, Death. Most of the times they weren't called like we categorize these bands today. That's something that came later on.
Hmm.
So I don't know up to this point if that makes make much of a sense, or most not no, no, it makes sense, but I don't spend the energy anymore about having that debate with certain kind of people,
No,
if you know what I mean.
I think it's like everything in black metal. It's a very personal journey and a very personal choice. If you, in your opinion, think, or I mean, I always think like a band like Lugubrium, for example, from Belgium. All their records are, in my opinion, black metal, but I know in my heart they're not all black metal. When
You
you
mean
get
botulism? You say?
no Lugubrium,
Oh, Lugurum. Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah. I know.
the
I get
intent
it.
is there. The intent is completely there, but the sound is not always black metal. But it's made with this, like you said, this darkness in mind that it completely makes it black metal in some way. So it's
Absolutely.
always, yeah, it's more than aesthetic. It's more than just, yeah, it's the feeling you get when you listen to something. I mean, yeah, it can be, how can you say Master Hammer's black metal and something like, I don't know, Gorgoroth or something is black metal? It's all under the same banner, but what is black
Yeah,
metal?
yeah. The problem for me basically these days comes when people basically tries to redefine or rewrite history or in this genre. The problem is, yeah, you can like what you want to like, but if you have certain issues with what this music is about, the topics, the history of this music, and then you jump into it and you have a conflict of interest, or you have a dilemma, trying to cope with that. Maybe this music is not for you. Um, it's like having this or you can bring you can do music the way you want, okay? But maybe, yeah, maybe, especially when it comes to modern bands and people who is not related to this musical movement, the way some of us feel it. I'm not going to say I'm right, okay? But in my opinion, when I listen to that, okay, that's not black metal. Call it the way you want it, but it's not black metal. But and same thing for that metal in general, But because the definition, especially for the kind of black metal, the death metal I like.
Sorry, what's the last thing?
No, especially for the kind of death metal I
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
truly enjoy. Because I can oscillate from death metal in the case of death metal, but I think it's the same with black metal. Of course, I want bands like Sounds Evil or Sounds Dark, be it Incubus or Morbid Angel or Sadistic Intent. I think that best death metal band ever from South America is Morten from Peru.
Mhm.
I think they are incredible. Um, but you have there are other bands which are that I truly enjoy, which are swampier or are more filthy or are gorier, be it, for example, Autopsy or Impetigo or maybe Nuclear Death or Undergang, for example, from Denmark, which are they actually they belong to a different kind of the metal scene, but there is something on the why in the way I understand that metal. It could be dark, or it could be brutal, or it could be gory. But it's something. It's the way I feel it, because yeah, you're totally right. You have the majesty of a band like Master Hammer, which is mind blowing in terms of composition, arrangements, and so on. And the fact that a band, for example, like Impiety, early Impiety, or Abhorrer from I forgot the country now, but are they worse, or are they different? They're two total different rights of writing music or approaching them. But I get the same feeling in the end. I get the energy. I get the evilness. It's different, but you have I always think that many of the black metal bands from Norway from the early days were at the top of the league, being musicians in their teens, which is quite unique. And you had all those bands that could barely play the instruments, made incredible demos, records, you name it, from all over the world. They that didn't make though that anything worse. And I can listen to both of them and can have the same kind of feeling. Yeah, maybe the intensity mostly the mood may be different,
Yeah,
but the vibe has to be there.
the fight has to be there. Yeah, I think so too. We always forget that it's made by teenagers mostly most of the time, so we have to
Yeah,
forgive them that they can't play their instruments. But I know what you mean. I think for Norway, especially, it's when you have passed through every first big album. I think the second and third generation of those records, that's kind of where you can see the musicianship shines through a bit, and the scene really evolves. But
yeah.
I always kind of find it sad that it overshadows so much the entire Norwegian scene, and a lot of people just stare at that and not give a fuck about any other scene or any other country. But yeah, that's how it
Yeah,
goes.
that was basically it was pretty much like that in the early days. I
Yeah.
think that's maybe changed a bit with the time.
Yes, we're back. Can you hear me, Daniel? No, that's myself. Yes, part two. We got delayed a bit, but we're talking to Spain, so that's to be expected. Um, for part two, we were going to go into the label Down with the Most High. That's actually why we're here. Although the entire Spanish scene is of some yeah of some value, I guess. We don't know too much about it, but I guess we will get into it because you have a lot, I guess, Spanish bands on your label. Is it okay if we just go to the discography and start with the very beginning? When
As
did
you
you?
wish.
Yes. When did you start the label? Because the first release is 2009, I guess.
Actually, well, the first thing I did with the label officially was I started doing these synthetic leather patches embroidered, which are like quite something that I was the first label doing that. Then everybody's doing them around the world. But the first one I made was a Watain patch in 2008.
Okay.
Prior to that, I made a T-shirt by Phil Nigranton Infernalium from Portugal, which you have the monthology back there, back in the back. because Bela Thauser, the guitar player, singer, and founder of the band, is like it was really really close to me. But the
Did you make
first,
a shirt?
sorry.
You made a
Yeah, I
shirt?
made a I made a bit a shirt. Yeah, but basically, I made that before, but I didn't. It was I just freed, but mostly I did. I wanted to make something, but I didn't know how to do it. I was trying to figure out a certain things. I was connected to the scene, but it was like I need to figure out creative ways about getting back into it, to say it so. But basically, I was started with this leather the patches, and the first thing I made in 2009 was the Omission LP with thrash metal is violence, it was a co-release between the band, another Spanish label which was called Metal Crusaders, and myself. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the guitar player and singer of that band also is the guitar player on the second band I have ever played with, which is called Intemperator.
Okay.
So we were friends. I totally dig the stuff they were doing on demo. That was even before we started Intemperator. Okay, so we were close for many years, and we were good friends. And I was really really hooked by the first thrash metal the demo. So we made the record, like a split release.
You played in Temperator, right?
Yeah, I am the singer. Actually, we are not technically disbanded. We are like on hold. We made 2 demos, an EP, a rehearsal tape, and we have a mini album that has to be released any of these days. We have been struggling about doing the cover forever, but yeah, I think it should come at some point. So I was a singer, and I was approached by the guitar player of Omission to the record. So it was the first release I made.
Yeah. The Omission was the first release, and then the follow-up was the Infectum. That was
Yeah, I think the Interfectum, yeah, was the demo. It was a band from Murcia, which is in southwest Spain. They made this, yeah, exactly, Sepulchral Rites. That demo, they made a really lousy do-yourself version. The jacket was like, we are speaking about 2006, I think it was, or 2007. The music was incredible, it was great, because it's bestial black death metal, you know.
Yeah.
I really did it, and I offered them to make a reissue of the tape on a professional way. Actually, it's in the pipeline of upcoming release. I should be doing a reissue of that demo on vinyl at some point.
Okay.
Next year. And I think it was released at the same time I made, or basically the follow-up release was the Filthy Grantian and Sabbath 10-inch split EP. I think that was that's one I did.
That's not digital, or not on Bandcamp, right?
No, it's not on Bandcamp because I don't own the masters. It's one of those things. Yeah, I don't have the master for. I send the masters over to the processing plant, and they never came back to me. I should approach the bands about getting the music but basically to put online. So I wanted to make a split between Sabbath and Filthy Grantian Infernalium, because later on I made the compilation album that is behind you with the Filthy Grantian Infernalium demo, Os Métodos do Pentagrama, and the Bacterium Miracle of Death demo, which was the Bacterium was to Filthy Grantian what Hammer was to Celtic Frost. Okay, to say it so. So I made it anthology, but Filthy Grantian after the demo era from the Akeda EP, or no, not Akeda, Aira do Abutre EP of 1994. They started switching to black heavy metal, because Bela Thauser was a heavy metal the boat forever. And I always thought both bands shared that common link between black metal, the old-fashioned black metal, and the heavy metal hint they had in the music. So I always thought they will make a perfect match. So it was at that time that Sabbath were doing all this massive amount of split releases, But it happened that they had an unreleased track what was called that Warrant, that which was the one they made, and Finley Grant to record a song called Materia Negra for DP. It couldn't fit into a single, so we did a 7-inch. Marco Marov from the Pampa in Support sign made the artwork for that.
Okay.
So it was like a special release for me. But things took me forever to do at that point. It was like the songs were recorded then, but it took me forever to do stuff. So I was basically working 60 hours a week, which is basically why I also work today with the label. Mm-hmm. But in my previous job, I was mentally exhausted, so I was trying to do things like. It's not like I was working 40 hours work. It was like, so I basically make things as I could, or when I felt the mood. But I wanted to make things with a certain kind of with a certain kind of passion. That split with all the artwork and the way the record unfolds, which are like a triptych on vertical and so on. Started to be a sort of kind of, I wouldn't say blueprint, but it will be a blueprint in terms of trying to conceptualize releases in a different way, which is basically what I'm trying to do. I have tried to do from then onwards, and that's what I'm trying to do today.
I think that will show in the coming releases. I think that is my entry to the label, the Filis Nigantum Infernalium, the compilation. At that time, I was heavily into the Portuguese scene with Vitala, Mons Veneris, all that stuff that was blowing up, and then digging back into it, I found that one. Did you have a hiatus between that records and the Proclamation stuff, or was it?
Sorry?
Was there a hiatus between those records, or was it on holds after that?
Oh, hiatus? No. Yeah, actually, the thing is that I think. Prior to the label going on hiatus for a period of 6-7 years, if that's what you are asking for.
Yeah.
No, but prior to that, the compilation was in the works prior to going on hiatus. Things got difficult with that release because that's something I started working for years, and the stuff got stuck for different reasons. Once again, you could say I'm not afraid to say that. It's like I got lost twice in my life. Okay, once was when I was studying this degree on biology, which wasn't going nowhere. And of course, everybody is could face like, okay, you're bumping to an obstacle, then you go to the next one. But it's like I got stuck somehow, because of the. And same thing happened with my previous life when I was doing my previous work and so on. So I want to do things in a way. I had this problem of being so perfectionist, and perfectionist is even a nightmare when you are working full time on something. But when you don't have the time to work full time on that, maybe it could be something that could make you being stuck in a bad way.
Yeah.
So it's better to make things not being perfect instead of being perfect. It's better done than perfect. But for me, it's like difficult. So there was a point that the album has to be released, and it was released when the label was on hiatus, which was I think a bit weird to say so.
Yeah. Especially when that was your entry point, because I noticed the label and then it was gone.
It was nothing because. I had Mesaku Unojo from the UK, the label, the death metal label. This has been a friend for me for many years. He was making like the distribution, not the retail distribution, but they are running the official distribution for the release. Mm-hmm. But I was basically not doing anything because the label was not even planning. So we put the release with the label being on hiatus. It was a quite weird kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then on, when I revamped the label 4 years ago, I got back the copies that really didn't move. I started moving them myself with a certain kind of delay. It was an album like was in the work for like 6 years, something like that, or was put in a drawer. Then it was released, put in a drawer. Then it was like Yeah, it was like a weird time or a weird way to do things. And the other thing that I made in the middle was the Sacrificio demo or EP or the prior to the album.
Yeah.
Nuclear War Now and Iron Bonehead released the vinyl and the vinyl version of the first EP or demo. Actually, it was like a demo, and I made like cassette version for when the band went the band. So that was basically when the label was not still on hiatus, but was about to be on hiatus.
Okay.
So the comeback with the comeback was the Proclamation reissue of the demo in 2022.
22, yeah.
So that was the new era for the label.
In between, there was one release that cannot be overlooked, and that was the Domains, the tape that you sent me, which I still adore. It's one of the Spanish bands that are, it's, I guess, unknown. I'll show the cover because, I'll show the cover in a minute. It's loading, but it's one of those records that, this one.
Yeah, exactly.
When I put it on, it took me by surprise how good it was. Being that I didn't know too many Spanish bands, and then this one was from Spain. Did they do anything besides this? Because I didn't look into it actually.
No, the thing is that the band approached me about me to doing something like that because the bass and guitar and singer of the band was really committed to what I was doing with Down with the Most High, even prior to this second coming, if you want to call it, or this revamping the label. The fact that I also have been singing on third-time bands like I did in the past, like Sharathorn, which have like this Luciferian kind of vibe or more lyrics, had a connection for him. So he sent me like a promo of the band they made prior to that album, which was quite good in intention, but the recording was really lousy because it was like recording like a drum machine. You could not notice the potential, but they didn't have the strength. Okay, so then on, they record the album, and it was released by the Sinister Flame from Finland on CD and vinyl. It was actually the Sinister Flame first release. By the time that tape came out, or I was about the tape, it was basically at the same time I would say that the Philly Grantium album was on the works, and that was when the label went on hiatus. Basically, the label went on hiatus because I quit my previous job. I used to work with my family for about 30 amount of years, and I had to reinvent myself. Then I had a plan for my life. Then one day I say, okay, this is not the way I want to go. Maybe there's people who have the ability or to make a switch or to anything, but I want to say, okay, this time it's going to be for real. I want to do something that I'm going to be really focused about what I'm going to do. So I had to study for 3 years. I reinvented myself. I started working as a digital freelancer, digital marketing, a freelancer on digital marketing.
Oh, okay.
And then I had like in the back of my head I should do something with the label at some point, but I was focused on studying and trying to establish myself in my new life because it was a total different mindset in general. So when I decided that I wanted to make the label full time, I thought I would make it part time, working on as a digital marketer on freelancer, and then. Okay, I will spend half of the day working on something on this and the other on the label. Though. It was like I was to split because I thought I needed to give it a go, but then the pandemic came and said, okay, forget it. I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to try it full time, and so that was when things started to happen. And so it has been like 2022.
22, yeah. Around that time, you released. I think the first batch that came out was the Witchcraft tapes on 22.
I think that was in 22, but that's in the end of 22. The end of 22. The first thing that came was the Proclamation reissue, but something the demo. That's something I always wanted to do. The band was reluctant to do that. Yeah, that's the limited edition box set, which comes with the Death Conjuration.
This is insane.
Black Conjuration, the Black Conjuration cassette rehearsal. Yes, the regular version is just black vinyl, doesn't have the box set, doesn't have the extra record. That demo it's different from what the band made on the albums, but it's something that I think I managed to do it because I was close to them. Especially Usurper wasn't really keen of the idea of putting that together. He wasn't even so keen of doing the Gorath, which was the compilation. But well, I pulled my strings, and they were compelled about the result. And I think that the music it was there's so many reasons, but that demo really deserved that. Then the following thing I did was the Sacrificio Guerra Eterna cassette edition, because I made the demo, but Iron Bonehead and Iron Nuclear War Now made the vinyl CD versions. I did the tape, and I made two editions: the regular cassette and the one which is a metal case. Which I don't know if you saw that.
That is I think that is when you came alive on like social media, because that is what when I think back on the label, I noticed that I had this records. But when I really think back about the label, the first thing I noticed was the metal casing with the devil cutouts for that tape, which really made me.
Yeah, we made this video, which was like promotional kind of thing. It was like an unboxing or showing the product, but with all the flames and all the. For me, creating releases is not about just putting putting a reissue or an album or something like that. It's about doing something more. Yeah, that's
the regular tape.
That's the regular tape, exactly. Yeah. So we made this metal case, which is not like there is a factory which is making metal cases or boxes for tapes. I had to. I approached a company which were working metal. They developed the thing from the scratch. And then, yes, the following release was the reissue of the three, which we back then were the last three rehearsals or demo tapes by Witchcraft. Yeah. And then became a relationship with them doing several merchandise and other stuff over the years.
Yeah, because is it fair to say you started out as a merchandise label with the patches and stuff like that?
Yeah. Actually, that's what the first thing I ever did. I didn't know how I wanted to do. I really knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to make something out of the ordinary. So that's why I came with the idea of doing these leather patches or synthetic leather patches. But it started like I wanted to reconnect with because I never quit listening to black metal or buying records and going to shows. Not at all. Mm-hmm. But I totally disconnected somehow about participating on the scene.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I basically wanted to do something. And that's when I remember by the time that Sworn to the Dark by Watain came out, I saw the band for the first time on the Casus Ferry tour when they were playing opening for Dissection. I was blown away because I know about them, but it's what like I had like they make a big impact on me back then. And I remember when they released the Sworn to the Dark album, they had this banner on the upper part of their website, which is basically these two goats entangled with. I think the drawing was from Timo Ketola. Yeah, I think
it's a maelstrom of goats, like something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw that I think this is worth to do a patch. So that's when I approached them. So it was quite easy to do. But then made ones for Niflheim. I think was the second one.
Yeah.
So and then on, I wanted to do some music. The Omniscient thinking really came naturally because of being close to the band and so on, and so did the rest of the releases. It was a different time then because it was in 2008. Mm-hmm. I could make a post on the Nuclear War Now forum, send a newsletter, and things will sell by themselves. You didn't need socials. You didn't need anything to remind people that. I sold, for example, a Niflheim patch like in 2 days through 100 of them. But I had others that took a year to sell. But I didn't have to insist people reminding them that the patches were available. People were coming back to. I had a website, but they didn't have an online shop. They wrote an email, and they were selling. Without having to. So it's quite impressive how the world has changed and how social media has changed the face of the habits when it comes to underground music.
Yeah.
And the awareness. This goes back to the beginning of our conversation about the amount of bands that were out there and so on. It's more difficult to be aware of everything because people, if you are digging into social media every day and you're going browsing through Instagram or Facebook or whatever, how many impacts do you have or receive per day?
Yeah.
Most likely you won't remember which band you saw this morning or which cassette or which patch. It's like, and everybody's promoting themselves, so different time for sure.
Even the 90s black and white pictures get tedious after a while because you see it everywhere. It's so visual these days that it's everywhere. I have one patch.
Right.
I have one patch that I wanted to highlight, which we are on the Witchcraft. This is the Witchcraft patch. The amount of detail on this is quite insane. Nothing like we will see.
That's one of the most. That was one of the most I'm most proud of.
Yeah,
that's the packaging.
It's like a full release. It even comes with an interview and a kind of a lyric sheet. So.
Yeah, I am writing notes, like little notes for that. The reason for doing that is that I remember seeing Black Winds of Blasphemy with all these patches down with the most released made by Doug with the most high being tapped to a wall, and I knew of many people that were in there. So if you are going to collect them, I want to give you something else. I'm doing things that the way I like them to be produced. I always have produced this in Europe. These are not being produced in China and things like that. With all these companies that are doing merchandise these days they have been like saying, take the inspiration for what I did and doing more or less the same. They are doing overseas. I all about support the local economy, my country's economy, the European economy. Nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with that, but it's the way I had to do. And that's something I'm really adamant of. Producing a patch like that could cost me a fraction, and I could make the same a much bigger profit doing overseas. But I prefer to do that with a company I've been working for 17 years. That when I challenge them to say, okay, I want to make this patch, you can see all the amount of details I have. This logo has. I want to make something out of the ordinary, and they put the time and the effort on doing that. Same thing, for example, the Apsu patch we did earlier this year is pretty much the same, and they really are competent at what they are doing. So for me, it's about creating these links with people when working with that. It's saying like working with bands or working with suppliers or working with artists or people with mastering records. For me, it's all about doing these strong connections. I really want people who is supporting the label to feel that. I know my releases are more expensive than others people, but the cut I make sometimes is not that big, because I prefer to earn less money but give you to people something that is it's about the average in every sense,
Yeah, I think so. I think price wise you're not that bad. I mean, the patches cost money, but when you get them, you know why they cost money. It's evident in the quality of it.
Yeah, and especially if you think that I'm making a smaller profit that I could make if I could go and produce, for example, overseas, something like that. You know? For example, the stuff that your viewers have seen at the beginning of this video, this promo stuff from Celtic Frost, this is a project, we can speak about that later, but that's related to what we are speaking about, vinyl releases and so on. Has been pretty much the same. That's been something that's been on the work for a long time. I have personally supervised everything about this being top notch and at the end high end. But that's what basically what I'm trying to make when doing records. I'm releasing the bands I like. I absolutely worship the stuff and put it out. So I can only want these people to be flattered about working with the label and to get the share of respect from my end.
Yeah.
Because what they have given me artistically, is the impact they have on me. That's something I want to reward them with. And it's not only about putting only thicker cardboard stock on the cover, but it's about the detail. It's about the context, and it goes to doing something which is like 360. Or full cycle. It's about the narrative of the release. It's about how we're going to do a certain illustration, or we are going to do the liner notes, or the extra for the limited edition it's not about throwing stuff in for the sake of doing that. It's
no.
doing something which is cohesive in every sense.
It has to make sense. The extras have to make sense. I'm keeping an eye on the time because there's a lot more we have to get into. I'm going to scroll through the discography a bit. You did around the time you did some releases that were linked with others, like Nuclear War Now, like Zombie Dance. You did the Dead Christ. You did the Witchcraft with Nuclear War Now. I wanted to ask you, because nothing nationalistic once again, but I'm from Belgium. I wanted to ask you about the Nocturne de Manto, of course. A release a lot of people, not a lot, but I guess some people were waiting for, especially in Belgium, because this is kind of a legendary band. Can you tell me something? Because last night I didn't ask for questions like I normally do, because I know this was going to be a long one, but one of the questions yesterday naturally was, how did you get in contact with Antichrist Perverter, and how did this entire thing come to fruition?
I just browsed through. I went to. It was. I think it was a matter of luck, okay? Or not. Basically, I went to Metal Archives. Was aware of the look for his real name. Made a search on Facebook.
Okay.
Found him. Wrote a message, and say he was fine with that. It was as easy as that.
And that was it.
And I know, for example, for Taufik was like an ordeal to do that somehow. But I think it was like it was something I was lucky at, Or sometimes you try to make these connections, you try to track down bands, or it takes ages or contacts or things like that. But it was something really easy. I thought I want to make this. Say, okay, sure, go ahead, do it.
Okay.
But I don't have anything.
Okay.
So I knew Taufik wanted to make this release, and I told him, I have the blessings for doing this. Do you have the material? Say yes, I will lend it to you. I say no. The fair thing to do is that we are going to do a split release. You wanted to make this. You got stuck at some point, but you have the visuals, you have the master tapes. I think the fair thing is that we are doing this as a split release.
Yeah.
So that's how it basically came out. It wasn't the first time collaborating with Taufik, because one of the things I always wanted to do was that Death Christ compilation. It was the story, but on a different angle. I never managed to track the band down. Yeah, I never managed to track the band down, and I wanted to make that compilation on vinyl myself. And there was a moment I thought I had the contact of Lothar, which was the bass player, the bass player of the band, because I corresponded with him in the 90s. I made an interview with him for my sign. And actually, that stuff is on the booklet for the box set and the album. So I was speaking to Angel of Proclamation, and told him I want to make this. I said, oh, there is this label from Belgium. It was when I was we were starting the label. I want to make this release. Oh no, this label from Belgium is already making, so it's working on that. I went to the Fombi Dance profile on Instagram, so they were looking for stuff for making the booklet and so on. I wrote him and tell, okay, I have all this stuff that I can learn.
Yeah.
I can scan it to you. It was already finishing the layout for that, and I came with a bunch of stuff that he didn't have.
Okay.
It was like a great addition for the booklet. It was my humble contribution, okay? But on his opinion, it was a great contribution for that. So then on, I started speaking with him, and well, we had so much in common, regarding musical taste and so on, mutual respect. Yeah. So I said, okay, I would like to make this box set or cassette version, but it couldn't go. It has to be go with the booklet. The booklet was like an essential part of that. It's like it will be like a mutilating the release. So we made the cassette tape with a double set. It was released by Down with the Most High, but under permission from Zombie Dance, and the people from Death Cries were really eager about doing that. So I was particular. I had a connection with the band back then, and that made me really happy to be able to do that.
I think
not only the cassette, but also contributing to the vinyl.
Yeah, I have the vinyl version. The cassette box is the one you sent me, just as a prop to hang around. But it's a very cool release. I kind of champion it to a lot of people who are were into the crust scene back then who didn't know them. So it's kind of a gem, just like the Nocturne de Manto. Not a lot of people know it, but it's kind of cool to have it on vinyl or on tape or whatever. Just have it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, Nocturne de Manto is this kind of band that is not like for everybody. It's like, I think it has an historical value, okay, because it's like, it's something that it was so extreme, it was so weird in the aesthetics and so on. It's like, I have this conversation with several people about these bands from the Netherlands, which are so insane from back in the 90s. You know the stories better than me, but it was like the perfect fit. One of the things that I wanted to make this, and I always had this crush with this kind of bands which are like outsiders among the outsiders. It's like
you have black metal and then you have these guys.
Yeah, exactly. That is so over the top. Yeah. I think it's not a good example, because I was thinking, for example, like a band like Gold Lord from the US. It's like, but it's what you have this scene from the US, and you have all these bands, and you have this band which is like so insane. Okay, musically, Nocturne de Manto is like craziness, improvised sort of kind of stuff, noisy. It's more in the verge of doing noise music than doing proper black metal. To say so. The intention is over there, but sometimes the intention is what counts in certain aspects, and you have to relate to that historical moment and to what it all means. So but doing that release was a really rewarding experience, and working with Taufik is always that's always pleases me endlessly.
Yeah, it's kind of when I do these interviews, I kind of have to have a link or a kind of fondness, and the fact that I have you and Taufik on the same channel is kind of cool. What you guys are doing is something very, very special, especially the corporation. But it is very good.
The thing is that when you are having things in common with people that like this kind of musical taste, this fondness for certain kind of bands. In the end, you then end up having an understanding. I remember having meeting. I spoke to Taufik several times about this project on video calls, and it's like having this chat. You start speaking black metal, and time flies, and you can spend hours about things that from the outside will be like nerdy kind of stuff, but it truly means a lot for us, you know.
I love
So I finally have the chance of meeting her personally last May at the Winds of Agony Festival in Barcelona. Yeah, the vibe was the same there. I totally respect what he's doing. The work he has made with Forbidden Sign, this like last edition we put about the Brazilian scene is simply, it's
insane.
you know, the Brazilian scene is like, we share this common obsession for that, you know.
Mhm.
The way he has approached that project is like, it deserves praise.
Very much more praise. The problem is he doesn't realize how much praise he deserves. That's the problem.
Yeah, because it's really humble about all
Yeah,
that, you know. But
about
yeah,
everything.
that's the way that's the way it is. But I, the- I totally respect people with which is driven by passion, you know. And I'm really a passionate person. I'm a really calm down person in the sense that I don't have a temper that I can lose easily. Okay. But I'm really passionate about certain things, and it's not because I'm Mediterranean and things like that. I'm really passionate about the things that I really fond or love or have a really big impact on me. So I understand how far you can go when you
Yeah.
feel passionate about something. You know.
Yeah.
The other day I was speaking to Usurper of Proclamation and Sacrificio, and I told me about we were. But actually now once this interview is on the air, the Celtic Frost project is already out there. Everybody should know about this thing. But he's known about this behind the scenes for so long, and it asked me, how are you doing with this? Or are you doing in generality? Okay, I'm stressed, but I'm happy about this. I'm doing this, and I say, if you are not stressed about that, it's that you are not feeling that, you know.
Right.
So that's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. So yeah. People like Taufik has this passion for this music, and not only that, it leads him to do stuff that is it's a state of the art, to say it so.
True. The same for you. I think the perfect quote to round maybe this thing off is what you said the last time we spoke. Like, once you find black metal, your life is over. It's ruined. I love
I
that.
always tell, you know, one of the persons that helped me endlessly with the label is my wife. You know, she has a very great
Yeah.
job, but he's doing a lot of stuff. I have some friends that, but they always say black metal fucks your life for good. Okay, it's something that goes with you for good and worse.
Mhm.
But it's something that really stuck to you. It's not a cliche to say that it's a lifestyle.
It's a
But
lifestyle.
it sets you in a certain mood and a certain not a mood. It's like it's a mindset, and sometimes I'm not fluent now with the words or exact words how to describe it, but yeah, you're totally right. It's something that when you cross your path. It happened to me at the age of 17, and I'm feeling the same kind of passion about this. You know, my brother is a year younger than me. He's into metal forever, but he doesn't have the same kind of insane passion. He loves it. He loves it, but he doesn't have the need to do that. But he's always like, no, he's not joking when he says you are black metal, Daniel. You are black metal. But he says he doesn't say it like a joke. It's like he feels it, no, and he doesn't. He likes black metal bands, but it's not like he's have the need to go through with that, but to it daily. But he understands that from me. It's like, yeah, that's the part. That's why you are. That's what you are doing. What you are doing, you know. So
Yeah, the path.
yeah, that's the path. Yeah, correct.
To round off the second hour and the label hour, I wanted to focus on the Baphomantia a bit, since it's one of the later releases in your stable. I have been addicted to that band for quite a while now. I kind of went with them when they released their first demo, got in contact with Tony, and from there on it was an obsession for me. How did you connect to those guys?
Uh, it was once again Angel Offensor of Proclamation who was
Okay.
told me about the band. I think it was like 4 years ago when I think it was when they released the second demo,
Mm.
or yeah, what's when they released the second demo. I listened to that and I thought it was mind blowing,
Yeah.
absolutely mind blowing. I approached then about doing a split release with a third time band that didn't came out, and I thought, okay, what about the demo material? And they told me that they wanted to do it themselves, you know. Um, time passed by. I asked them about the status of what they were doing, and they said they went on a low profile for a while.
Mhm.
Then they came back to life and say, okay, are you still going to do that compilation? Because I'm interested in doing that. And then they gave me the green light at I think it was at the beginning of this year. So yeah, in his software story, that this is something. If you nailed it, the way that they approach black metal with all these influences which are so necro, because this mix of Beharit with Samael, with some Brazilian stuff, it's like it's like you get the best of different worlds, yeah, and that's the Treblinka noise
Yeah.
extra LP that came for the limited edition. Yeah, in the case of that, I basically wanted to release the demos, and for the extra limited edition, we made this second disc, and I tried to make it as close as possible to the cassette editions.
Yeah.
So that's why the records are numbered and dedicated to the owner. Then we made this. I wrote this that essay about the cassette, and so we did with the booklet that came with the record. Speaking about the two demos, in my case, when approaching liner notes, even if I write them or somebody else write them for me, I have a good friend called Ricard, who's playing a band called Proscrito here in Spain.
Yeah.
He's been doing the scatology sign. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Um, it's not about doing something biographical, but to write a proper essay about a band from different angles, different perspectives. So we really get deep into it to do it in a way that is. It makes me. It's subjective at some point because we throw out our opinions in the way we do that, but trying to at the same time to represent a good share of facts. And I always say that running a black metal label or a YouTube channel like you are doing, or a sign, or running a distro, or organizing shows, we are part of this custody chain of keeping our music intact. You have Norway that has embraced black metal as something cultural, to say it so, because it brings a lot of tourism to the country. I think Euronymous should be revolving on his grave, right here, right now, But I don't even think Belgium is never going to pay homage or care about the legacy of a band like Nocturne de Manto, for instance, or Ancient Rites, for example, which are that could be easier to digest, from bureaucratic or political statement. Nobody's going to take care of that. We are taking care of that ourselves.
We
Sorry?
we have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do it ourselves. So that's basically what we are doing. Each one on his way. My way of doing these things is being really adamant about the accuracy and the historical facts, because I don't know if in 30 years somebody is going to go through those booklets or the band's releases and so on. But during the time this label is alive, during the time these people is supporting their label, or buying the, I want to involve them in part of this culture. I want to leave a mark, but being part of this custody cult we are defenders of.
I think the label is doing a fine job curating the bands and the things that are worth mentioning 30 years from now. I think Baphomantia will be part of the lexicon of black metal. I think of like Crucifixation, for example, same thing. I think every band that is selected, you don't have a bunch of releases, you have a very select group of releases, I would say, but every one is, like handpicked, hand selected, and curated for maybe that purpose, to propel the label or propel the genre into the next 10, 20, 30 years, maybe. If we will be here, it's a different thing, but they will be here, or the documents will be here, I guess.
Yeah, you're totally right. Quality versus quantity is always an issue.
Yeah.
When you are running a label full time, you need to pull to push and to release stuff, because you need to keep the cash flow going. That's part of the essential of the finances of anything, if that's going to be your full occupation. To be honest with you, this year I only have released the Baphomantia album.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have now the Oppositor EP from Spain. I made the cassette version last year, and I have this.
The album.
Which is the Ceremonial Incantations album, the second one, and this is the Oppositor.
Okay.
From very vinyl version from the cassette I made. This ones have been sitting here for a month, but well, with all the issues with the shipping to the US and so on, it's like I decided to try to solve that thing, especially with the band which is from the US. Also, we have been working for months on the reissue of the Necrolast demos from Brazil. That's pretty much done, but we need to make some really cool liner notes. So we basically have been interviewed with the band in a really particular way, because what we basically made was sending the interviews through WhatsApp to them, so they have been sending out audios back. Then we have been transferring the audios into actual text. Joao from Kaisao has been doing the reviewing for them.
Okay.
Then our friend Ricard is going to do like an essay. No, it's not. We are going to put doing an interview, but we want to make something really because that's an obscure band that deserves much more. Much more. It's like many people is not aware of them, and they are like the hidden gem of the Brazilian black death metal from the 90s.
Yeah.
So it has took a while, and it hasn't been good for the label in the sense of that this release should have been released earlier this year for different reasons, but I want to make it right. And this year I have been focusing on many events, also attending to festivals, record fairs, doing other stuff like, for example, co-organizing with Adharma, which are the promoters for the Winds of Agony Festival, the Mórbidos show in Barcelona. We put together in a castle, exactly that thing over there. And I also am the promoter of one of the promoters of the Street Metal Record Fair in Madrid. We do it twice a year. We had Impale Nasren as a headliner here 4 weeks ago. So all this time takes time off from running the label, but at the same time it's a way to promote it and to put it on the map. And it's also part of this necessity of me of doing something else, that put in merchandise, put in records, I would like to embrace the whole experience of doing it all, but sometimes days have the amount of hours they have. So but sometimes I prefer to be a little bit more profile, even if the label will need to release a sort of more steady way to say it so. But I want to do the make them right. But next year there's going to be much more releases that we actually have been this year, because some of them are on the pipeline, and definitely there's stuff I really want to release that should have been released this year, and I want to focus also on other stuff I want to do in the future. So I don't want anything to get through like through a funnel, but to starting flowing
Yeah.
steadily.
To put the plans to fruition finally.
Sorry?
To put all the plans to fruition finally.
Yeah, absolutely.
I promised the guy from Baphomantia I was going to ask you one thing, and that is please bring them over to Europe for Winds of Agony.
It's like, yeah. Actually, about Winds of Agony, I got an incredible relationship with the promoters, with Alarma. Okay, it's not like I am not one of the co-promoters. I'm helping them with different stuff. I'm helping them to curate the building. I help them to booking some of the bands, the promotion, and we have this kind of scenery that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
We made the Mórbidos show together, and each one of us took care of something. That will be awesome for sure. The thing is that putting these buildings together, I'm the first one, and I declare myself guilty of having been easy about criticizing what other people have been doing with festivals or buildings or so on. But the moment you jump into this and starting putting this thing together, you realize how difficult it is. And how a complete world it is in many aspects. To give you an idea, we are making the Street Metal Record Fair in Madrid, and we have already booked the dates for next year and the dates for 2027. Even if we don't know the bands we are going to play, because there is so many logistics. Not only the bands, but yes, having Baphomantia, that will be something really unique. I can tell you for now that they have their plans. I can throw in names. Sometimes you have to bring in bands from overseas to certain kind of shows is always challenging because traveling has become incredibly expensive for bands. Touring, especially for one-off shows, is always difficult. But yeah. I really would love to see the band here. For example, I've been working with Abysmal Lord for some merchandise. We have the plans for doing a split with Perversion, which has been announced for a while. That will end up happening at some point. They are playing this year or next year on the Winds of Agony Festival, which is going to be a highlight. Personally, I don't know if I will be able to see them because last year I was stuck at the Downwind Was High merch booth all the time, but that will be great to see that or something. I hope that will happen sometime somehow.
I hope we can make it there. It's one of these festivals, not the next one, I guess, but maybe the number 3. That's hopeful.
I will throw in the names. I can swear I will at least do that. Okay. Much more from that, I cannot commit to anything.
No,
but, that will be a highlight for me personally as well.
My last question, actually, for the label is: what would be if you can? Sky's the limit. There's no financial restraints. What's the dream release for the label, apart from Necrolust? Guess you're doing that.
There is a couple that actually are about to happen, which are dream releases for me. Okay, actually they are reissues somehow, but I want to do them then in the way I want. On the other hand, probably they will happen next year, for sure. But you know how with this kind of things, sometimes you have to be discreet. So doing something with Sarcophagus will be like ultimate for sure. That will be something that's on my wish. That's on my wish list. Okay, or about my dream. That will be an incredible personal achievement. But nowadays, if I have to be honest with you, I also try to focus as well on enjoying what I'm doing or the bands I'm working with. Doing this project with Celtic Frost is like it's something I will have never imagined that will come
definitely.
to. So much more than that, yes. It doesn't have to do about the how big a band is or how important their legacy is. It's about how deep my connection with them is. You know, The Finley demo reissue, for example, is one of the things I felt more proud of. You know, it's that band for me is something so, for different reasons. It has such a special place in my soul that
Yeah,
it was a total highlight for me. And they are a really, really underground band, and it brings me as much joy and as much proudness. I like doing this Celtic Frost thing right now.
perfect. Okay, so a lot of things to come.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Next year is going to be a busy year. There are some releases that have been announced. Others are in the works, and I definitely there is stuff I really would like to approach certain bands about doing things.
Okay,
Sometimes the thing is that you don't have. It's not only a financial kind of thing, or it's something you don't have the time to. When you are running an underground label, you have to be you are multitasking. You have to do a lot of different things, and you barely have the time sometimes for doing certain things. Sometimes you make a call, like in the case of the Long Manto album, and things happen like
yeah,
really really fast. Same thing happened, for example, with Necrolast, when I know a lot of people who have tried to approach them. So I have been surrounded by good people, like for example Joao from Caixao, which has been pivotal in this release to make it happen for different reasons. Because the idiomatic, yeah, exactly, the idiomatic in the Necrolast reissues, the idiomatic barrier is actually a thing, an important thing. So, and not only that, he also has an incredible deep knowledge about all these Brazilian and underground bands. So I try to curate, but I also sometimes have people helping me to curate things. You
yeah,
know,
of
I
course.
curate my share, but I'm not afraid of sharing the the to say that there's other people who is helping me, and
Mhm.
I always ask for help with other people. Same thing for that happened with Gorath, the Gorath reissue, you know, because usurper of proclamation didn't have the demos, the masters anymore.
Ah, okay.
So uh, I have a friend, the one of the guitar players from Oppositor from Spain. He's the he had some of the demos, and Hideous Abominations of Goat Vomit sent me his own original copies of those demos, and we made dubs here in Spain. No, we transferred them in a studio. I sent back his originals. So and Goat Vomit of Oppositor, he's a guitar player, also have made quite a research in trying to, because Gorath was a really unknown force. So he managed to make like a timeline which was not even clear even for
Yeah,
Super. But it was like something he did like prior to putting proclamation out. He was trying testing himself, doing this home recordings on his own. So counting with all these people for doing this stuff is really important. It's part of the success
yeah,
of it all. On the other hand, is one of the parts I enjoy the most, because it's like having this conversation with you about black metal and so on. Is you have this interaction with other people which have similar interests than you.
mhm.
Then you keep on sharing your knowledge and your experiences, and keep on discovering things.
That's
That's
how it
basically
grows.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how it grows, and stays
exactly.
alive, I guess. Yeah. For you to
Absolutely.
for you to work with people like Witchcraft. I'm not saying they're young people, but Witchcraft, Performance, yeah, they are, in our opinion, young people that's still doing it, and the continuation of that thing is a very beautiful thing. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I don't see this going to be something like generationally is going to be many as you will need for this movement to survive in
yeah,
such a way, you know.
mhm.
But it's good that it's still people that is feeling uh, the that ancient feeling. Yeah, absolutely.
That's okay. That's part two. Yes, back for part three. So this should be our three, if I'm not mistaken. We ran to the discography or through the label quite quick, and then we did an hour, but we skipped over Regnum Tenebrarum, we skipped over Mythical, we skipped over a lot of things. So if you're into just do music and you don't know Down with the Most, I implore you to check out the label and check out what we did not talk about. For the last part, it's kind of cliche, but I always do the what's your top 5 records? Just in general, it could be black metal, it could be everything, because this channel is not just black metal. So pick your 5, do your worst.
I have to admit that I haven't made my homework. You warned me about doing this, so I cannot show anything.
No.
My apologies about that. I will say that Iron Maiden is my favorite band ever. It was the band that started for me everything, so they had such a big impact on me.
Okay.
There is 3 records of them which are my favorite ones, which are Peace of Mind, then Seven Sort of Seven Song, and then Killers. But I will say it has to be Peace of Mind is my favorite.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite metal album ever, I will say. I will say second one is Inri by Sarcophago, which I think shouldn't take anyone by surprise.
That was a given. Yeah.
Third one, I think I will go with the Mysteries Don Satanas from Mayhem.
Oh, okay.
That record is like pure perfection for me. Songwriting. I don't have any bad thing to say about Attila's voice, because I think that's part of the charm of that album. It's in my opinion, I never had an issue with that. Wish that we will have like a version sung by Death for sure.
Yeah.
But it will be curious to see. But that's a really special record for me for many different reasons. I will go on with another. Sorry.
It will always be the question of what would have happened, but I think it's cool to have Mayhem have different chapters, different sounds, and different singers. That's what keeps the band alive. If they would have, same singer, same drummer, same guitarist, I don't know if they would have that trajectory or whatever. So it's interesting, but I would have, like you said, not preferred, but it would be interesting to hear Death or even Maniac do a take on that.
Yeah, I don't think in the case of Maniac the Mayhem would have been like they were. It's like let's jump back to Maiden for a second. It's like I love the 2 first Iron Maiden albums. Killers is my third. It's my third favorite Iron Maiden album. But Maiden will have never reached what they were with Paul Di'Anno.
No. It's actually a perfect comparison.
So, what Death brought into Mayhem was like, it was not only the voice. It was the concept, and it was the whole idea behind it.
It's the same thing we talked about. It's the intent, it's the feel, it's what makes black metal, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that Watain was the band who took what they envisioned in order to do that. When it comes to stage shows and many of the aspects of that, I think that were the band. Yeah. The vision Death and Euronymous had for Mayhem. That's basically what they portrayed on their career. You may like them or not. You will cope with all the records more, and that's even my case. But it's undeniable that they took that into the
They took it to a much bigger stage than they intended, I guess. Yeah. They get a lot of hate, but I still struggle to this day. I struggle to see why. I don't know. Still don't know.
I think the fact that they have all this, they got this share of success. I'm not going to lie. I even told before during the podcast, because with you that I was really shocked when I made that Watain patch. But when they released the Wild Hunt, they kind of lost me.
Okay.
It was now.
Yeah.
They kind of lost me. but I will never say that. And I have more or less recently reconnected with the last two albums, but I will never say anything bad about
Oh,
what they were doing live, because their vision was there, and they were doing these shows, and even this is the kind of band that you may like it or not, but you cannot deny that there is so much they put into their music. They care basically about the entire
yeah,
cosmovision
perfect.
they paid. So they made it. So
I
fourth
can
album,
still,
sorry.
if I close my eyes and I concentrate really hard, I can still smell them.
Yeah. No, what they first time, second time they came to Madrid was they came on their own. They strong to that album. Um, it was a venue which is no longer six here in Spain, but that what place was a regular venue for many metal shows. Then I sent them lots of band. It was like 300 people capacity, great sounding engineer. They had, uh, and the place was smelling, and we were like 60 people there, but it was smelling like, it was
Yeah,
insane. But when I went upstairs to the dressing room, um, it was like you barely could breathe. But I was feeling black metal. That was on the air. It was only because of
yeah,
the stage. The show was like that, and so was the vibe, and so was many things. So yeah, the
there
thing.
we go.
So fourth album, that's a third one for me as well. But I think Defenders of the Faith by Judas Priest will be another one.
Okay.
I grew up with heavy metal, and still this is an important part of my life. Uh, I got I got really emotional about it. Black metal for me is more about. It's not. Of course it's also emotional, but it's in a different way. It's more like the kind of person I am, or the kind of. It's a different thing, but I think Defenders of the Faith. I have many Judas Priest albums I really enjoy, but this one in particular is really special. And for the fifth one, I have been thinking, probably I will say maybe it will be Bathory, but I have the same problem with Bathory I have with Kiss, which is another one of my favorite bands. Depend of the day of the week or the month I am. I don't have I don't have a favorite album. It's really difficult to narrow them to five albums
Yeah.
if it's to metal. Especially maybe it will be easier if I could say five metal albums. But if I have to say five metal albums, I think it will be black metal albums. It will be, of course, Sarcophago first place, second one by Mayhem, Worship Him by Samuel will be probably the third one. Oof, yeah, and then once again it's starting difficult. I should have done my homework. Sorry, for an upcoming interview, I will have this preparation. And I have to admit, I was sharper when I was younger about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
I cannot. I'm not able to absorb as many things that I used to absorb, and sometimes I have to go through things. I made a playlist for the last stream that record fair I did.
Okay.
I ended up because we have to make to pay music on this venue, because
Mhm.
if you let them put what they call stream metal. I had the term stream metal. Okay, let's take it. But if you are doing a record fair with 25 vendors, then you have to put a name that maybe summarize the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's black death metal, whatever it's gonna be. So actually the name was already there even before I came. I'm one of the co-promoters. So, but I made this playlist, and I have to many names pop into my mind. I said, but okay, you have to think, and you have to search, to do a little bit of search, because there's something that you are going to leave left outside. So it's not I'm not as quick mentally as I used to be about the certain kind of things. No, and don't ask me why.
You're 50.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, basically, that's
I'm getting
basically.
there, so I hear it. Okay,
Everyone of us is going there.
yeah, that's a nice tight five, I guess. No complaints there, I guess.
Yeah.
We have reached the very last part of this, and you have some stuff to show. You hype me to the fact that you have been working with, or working towards a project, together with Celtic Frost, or with Celtic Frost in mind. Um, yeah, take
Yeah, what you have seen on the opening of this program, the show. This is the promotional video of
yeah.
the, fine arts precious metal collection, which is basically inspired on the Morbid Tales album by Celtic Frost.
Yes.
By the time the label was on hiatus, I wanted to make a comeback, and I always wanted to venture into other and different things. I always have this creative urge that, on the other hand, I have been like blocking unconsciously. Okay, even if that one again, what is this dichotomy about how we feel about the black metal, how we feel about life, and how our or how do you react? You know, by you go with the flow. But I always had this creative side that I haven't explored fully on my on my on on my professional life,
Mhm.
be it on previous jobs, when I was working as a journalist, or when I was working with my family on interior design,
Yeah.
or even when I was doing digital marketing, which has a good share of creativity. But I was working, being creative for other people. So besides, sometimes you're doing a T-shirt and you basically are putting putting stuff that has been already been part of the artwork of a tape or a vinyl release or something like that. So yeah, in the process of developing a whole layout, maybe you do some stuff, but I wanted to make something else. I wanted to go and think out of the box, and started thinking about doing what about doing this collection. So I have a friend that is a sculptor. It makes sculptures, but it made a sculpture for my band. He gives this as a present. The first demo, the demos for my band were on the EP. The demos were drawn by Rock of Sadistic Execution.
Yes.
So he made this sculpture. So long story short, I approached him to make this Celtic Frost sculpture, which is where you saw the video. And actually, here it is. This is a 6 kilograms bronze sculpture. It has been forged or actually cast, which is the exact verb, on a artistic foundry. So this is not merchandise. I think this is a piece of art.
Yeah,
So,
true.
so this is going to be reproductions. So basically, what I made when we made, I commissioned him to do the sculpture. I had no idea about anything regarding this stuff. So where to do them. So I asked questions. I knew people that are artists. So I asked somebody I knew that I worked with about she paints, but people were people who is making art sculptures and so on. So he gave me the phone numbers of foundries. I started doing research. So this all began 5 years ago, actually. So
Which is
I made
insane.
yeah. So I made the research. Then it was the moment the pandemic exploded. It was actually nearly 6 years. The pandemic exploded. Then things got a slow down, and actually from this I want to envision to make a whole collection about other stuff. So the jewelry part, which is a ring and a pendant that you have seen at the beginning of the video,
Yep.
and so is the belt buckle. All these pieces are made are gonna make custom made and are made individually, and there is no stock. They are going to be produced on demand. So there is these pieces which are like a bespoke. You have to they are made on demand, and I started the collection with some other items which are like more common, like for example the leather patches, which are like a staple on the label. So a T-shirt, which actually is a combination of techniques mixing plain silk screen with some puffy elements. You know, if some of your viewers may be familiar with that dark front T-shirt, which was black on black logo and the true Norwegian
Yeah.
black metal motto, which was on the back.
Yes.
In the 80s, yeah, just like on a puffy 3D kind of ink. So mixing this kind of techniques, we have made a flag, made a sticker which is printed like in hot foil, and so also a badge which is also print on red hot foil. And all on top of that, we have taken incredible amount of care on doing a packaging which is consistent, not only with the products, but also with the kind of stuff. Why I decide or I envision to make this sculpture and work with precious metal? Well, there is a lot of companies out there doing merchandise, doing things which are relevant somehow. You have a lot of materials nowadays and a lot of possibilities of doing things, but I want to do something which is really artisan in the concept and in the development of the whole thing. So this goes back to this relationship with establishing connections with people, like have like a foundry workshop or a jeweler which is making these silver pieces one by one. It has been an incredible journey in order to, in one hand, to how to learn about doing all these things, on the other hand, to be able to make it for Celtic Frost. I actually we made the sculpture, and even before approaching the band, because the idea, or actually Tony Warrior and his management, because we need to be compelling about we were doing. You have the original, which basically was made on clay, on this kind of kids clay, you know.
Yeah.
But we made the positive, then we did a resin, and the bronze. We could have shown the resin, but I didn't know if we were going to. I was going to be able to make this right, and the way I try to make things for the label and everything in life in general is to be prepared and to be sure that if I'm going to walk a certain road, I already have made my walk the necessary steps in order to do that. So we approached Tony Warrior when the time was right, and his management, and we have their blessings. It took some time for different reasons to make this happen and make this properly. It's not only about doing something which is disruptive and not ordinary, in the sense that I can say that I never have seen a bronze sculpture for a black metal band so far. I think this is the first time that this has been made.
I think so.
Yes, there is samples about things like about some jewelry made for bands, but this is based on a whole concept between an album that I think to make Ethereal with Charnet 40, but actually by the moment we are recording this a couple of days ago, by the moment this is be on the air a bit later, it's like the album from Celtic Frost everyone has in highest regard, but in my opinion, and that's the album that first album I heard from them, you know. But Morbid tells this transition from the Hellhammer era to what the band is about to be is one of those moments that is really historical in my view. You know, it's like maybe it's not the most acclaimed album or the most acclaimed release, but
it's a key moment, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's basically how this has been approached. On the other hand, yeah, you could have made this in resin, for example, but that will, in my eyes, that will be a toy. Actually, resin is one of the materials that's being used on art these days. But this is the way I envision things. I envision them to be with a certain standard of quality, with a certain. This album was pure metal. You see the aesthetics of the record, you read the lyrics. I always saw that as a blades of metal, that cover as a blades of metal. So this friend of mine bring this into life. Viewers have seen the pieces right now, but we are about to share in the following days and weeks videos of how the making of process of this has been made. You already have seen some of this stuff already, but it is telling a total different story. It is a continuation and reflection of what I'm doing with the records and with the merchandise, but I wanted to venture into this kind of stuff. The fact that I have been growing on a family which has been working on services which are related to craftsmanship, this craft kind of work, in the case, for example, upholstery, drapery, when it comes to doing high interiors and working with materials, gave me through the years a good amount of, I wouldn't say wisdom, but of sensitivity about that kind of things.
Attention to detail, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also a part. I think that's a good share of that. On the other hand, that's something that's on my DNA. I will say, but doing this collection has been something that has been I think that's has been crucial in not only also in the revamping the label and the way it's gonna be, because there was a moment that I wanted to approach the band about doing this, that the label was not even back into life. So I didn't have socials, I didn't have a website, so we have to put this into a drawer and get back to them when we have something to show, you know.
If anything needed to be delayed and taken slowly, it's this project, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the other hand, I'm using social media, for instance, as everybody else. You are having a label, trying to running a business like this, or what you say, because actually it's a business. You make a living out of it. But I deal with that on a really respectful way, because all this cultural kind of thing we are speaking about. But it is true that life is becoming so. Anything is so has to be. You need to have access to that instantly. We have become slaves of the technology, and the technology is a tool. But on the other hand, you need time to slow down. When the pandemic came, it was a moment of retrospection, of introspection for me, and that was the moment I wanted to make this, but that was the moment I said, if I want to do this, I want to do this full time.
Yeah.
Because I had the chance. Many people saw this. Maybe in other parts of the world is different, but for example, South Europeans, all the Mediterranean countries, people usually live out in the street, needs to socialize heavily. Doesn't mean that I'm a 100% misanthrope or something like that. I'm a person that needs to socialize, but also needs to be on my own. So for me, having that chance of, there was something positive for me when the pandemic came. Now you have the chance, the time, the moment to slow down. It's been like I didn't slow down for a moment in my life ever. So it was, I can do that. I was staying at home. I was already working at home at that point. So it wasn't not something new for me, but you had time. So and so it was the time that I had the concept about doing that. That gave me the perspective of developing it in ways that it needed to be bring into a reality, and also about conceptualizing a whole world behind it. This was not only about, okay, we are putting this stuff on sale, we are getting this license from a legacy band like Celtic Cross, or no, it's something, it's something much more deeper about that. So it was like a perfect moment and timing for doing that in that way.
It's an extremely bold move for a label that is like 20 releases deep. But it deserves much respect. I've seen the complete line in promo videos. I've seen even more than has been shown, and it's the next level for Down with the Most High, definitely. It looks incredible. I'm hoping that I can afford the T-shirt.
Of course, this is stuff that's it's going to be pricey.
Yes.
Actually, right now it's going to be all over the internet. I'm ready to receive all the hate that people is gonna storm with. I'm fine with that. You know, it's not something I'm scared about. You know, I know the amount of work this. I'm not going to even speak about the money that has been necessary in order to invest it, in order to develop something like this. Just speaking about the time and the effort behind it. If you are going to make something and you're going to make it right and you are going to give quality, and you not only can think about the production cost. No. Most of the people when they are complaining about how much a festival costs or this, that, sometimes most of the people is not aware of the amount of effort that is behind all that. It's not only about hiring a place where to host a concert, or the people that have to work. There's much more behind that. But going back about being a ball mode, yes, a movement, yeah, it's like I wanted to make a statement in the comeback, so that's probably what, because I was envisioning this. But making a statement, this as a comeback with the label, it should have been a statement, but it wasn't the right time to do that. So going back to this social media madness we are living on, you have to step down, think how you want to make something like this, because this is not fast food. This is something that has been conceptualized in order to people to understand that if you are ordering one of these pieces, like a sculpture or the jewelry or the belt buckle, this is not going to be at stock. You have to wait 2 months to get it delivered at your place. The idea behind the videos that we show of the making of process, of course, is to explain people the added value these pieces have, not only in a monetary way, but the incredible amount of work they involve. And once again, they are being produced here in Spain. All the people I'm working on this collection are located here in Madrid. I know them personally. I built up these connections with them. They have been kind enough to let me document how they work. I have tried to learn their manufacturers, factoring process. They have been really generous, sharing with me their wisdom. You know, there's people who is paying for courses or college or whatever to get certain kind of knowledge. Creating these interactions with people which are artisans. I remember the first time I started looking for foundries to make this happen. I didn't know what to expect, but when I was showing them the original, I had a good feeling that this could be something that it was worth doing, because some of the foundries I visit and I have been working with this project, and some others that are on the works for the future and that should be revealed next year, are working with renowned artists, that are making exhibitions. They are hiring thousands of euros for their art. So coming out of the blue, bringing then a sculpture from a black metal band, I can tell you, I don't have an issue. I don't pay attention anymore about the way I look, but when you go and but you know how they are going to react in general to hold this amount of things, of these small elements, the black metal, the sculpture, and the response was incredible, positive from the moment they saw the pieces. But are you made this? No, I have a friend who was the artist, but he's trained. No, he's not. Some people couldn't believe that. So yeah, all this has been personally something really, really special to me, and beyond that, being able to do something for a band like Celtic Frost like this and do it in this way is I felt that I am, in my humble contribution, I'm honoring what they have given to us. I can think of few bands that have worked so hard in the aesthetics or in the concept like they do. Even in the Hellhammer days, you have the Hellhammer book that was made by Basilion Points back then.
Sure.
They were thinking big. You were thinking big. I'm going to tell you a story. Last month of July, Triumph of Death were playing in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
in a festival, big metal festival called Rock Imperium. 10,000 people capacity, and they were headlining. They were closing one of the nights. I had the chance of meeting Tony Warrior in person. He was really kind about the words he had about the collection. We have already had a video call months prior to that, but it was the first time. He introduced me to the rest of the Triumph of Death band, and he was really kind about how he the work we made for this.
Yeah.
And I told him, and he was thanking us for doing this. I told him, no, I have to thank you, because beyond the music, I remember the first time I saw the To Megatherion album, saw the photos and the calligraphy and the way it was put together. I was 16, 17 years old back then, but I knew that band was not playing the same league than others. But not only because of the music, it was
The entire package.
Exactly. That was something really, really unique, and it came with me. There are bands which has been like an influence for me in the way I'm running the label, beyond the music. It's a total different example, but Order from Chaos from the US is another one. These are these bands which have this incredible cosmovision about the entire thing from beginning to end,
Yeah.
cover to cover, that goes beyond the fact of doing music. It's an entire artistic network of elements. They don't merge, they don't blend. They connected the dots in incredible creative ways that have been influential, but even beyond the music.
Yeah. I don't think they connected the dots. They created the dots. That's the difference between.
Yeah. You're totally right. Totally right. Absolutely.
At that time, there were no dots to connect, because it was actually something totally new. That's what makes it so. That's what makes it a landmark, or so influential, I guess. And still to this day, inspires people.
I couldn't agree more. And you're totally right, because we are speaking about 1994, 1995. Those were the year. Those were the years. And Morbid Taste 1994. To Megatherion 1985. Metal was something that was evolving. It was the new wave of British heavy metal was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Then you have all these bands that are going nasty, are being more crude, more rawer.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in their case, they came from the Hellhammer, a short period, which was something so extreme for the era, so raw. But then you are venturing months later into a vanguardist kind of thing that have influences for many different things beyond music, and from a genre or musical genre that was still on diapers, to say it so. Because those were from 1995, from 1990 to 1994, 1995. There was 5 years. No, we are celebrating 4 decades of these albums. Back then, it was so new. It was everybody was settling down. Even what they were doing didn't have a name per se. It wasn't. If you look at the what I remember reading one of the Problem Death newsletters, which were put by the band, and that's another important point. And they were mentioning their influences, and they were even close to what you would think that it would be a black metal band. They were
very, very excited about that. Actually, are they in the liner notes somewhere or?
Oh no. Unfortunately, no. Okay. But those are available anywhere if you will go online. Go for the Problem Death newsletters that were put in together by the band. Another of the things that have been highly influential for me, I remember when I read the Hellhammer book, Only That's Real, and I had a vivid memory of seeing the newsletters, the flyers. The band was portraying themselves as they were really big, or there was like big team of it was like really professional, but it was made like cut and paste stuff doing probably at the bedrooms. But if you look for memos from back in the days from record companies, which were big, they were paid to look big.
Yeah.
And they were thinking big. And they were thinking big.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's exactly what led Celtic Frost to have Giger following them, to have to lend the board, to put his heart on one of the records. That's unbelievable. And they were young people out of their teens, venturing on doing stuff and portraying themselves and knocking at the door of an artist that had won an Oscar and was at the peak of his popularity.
True.
And he felt that. He felt the passion.
But I can imagine, at the same time, I can imagine the refusal letters from multiple record companies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but definitely they made something right about what they were doing. Once again, I will make this Kiss connection. Kiss were like probably one of the biggest bands of the 80s, but they weren't as big as people thought. They made insane amount of money. They created a brand that has lasted for 50 years and is going to be profitable for decades to come.
Mm-hmm.
But back then they were creating the illusion that they were this big, but it wasn't like cheating people. They were thinking they were big, and they were daring and to make things in a way that other people would have been like reluctant, maybe because they will be shy or they will try. And I think that in the case of Celtic Frost, that was an incredible benefit in the way they ended up creating music, and what later on, that's one of the reasons we are speaking about them 40 plus years later, and they have influenced so many people in so many aspects beyond the music, once again.
Yeah, beyond black metal even.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember thinking about bands. I doing this process. One of the things I like the most about what I do is doing the research aspect of things, because when I'm whatever it is, okay. So one of the things I made about many different exercises, be it for inspiration or for developing the packaging of a certain item, or for how the copies or the promotion are gonna be written. I started looking for, speaking about the influences, about which bands have made covers of Celtic Frost, okay? And then you can notice, for example, I don't remember the cover right now, but Obituary, for instance,
Yeah.
made a cover at some point of Celtic Frost. And then I immediately understood the connection on the music. I never saw it coming. But when you think that they make a cover of them, say, yeah, I can. No, then I realize that the influence was there in their music.
Yeah.
And maybe you wouldn't think of a death metal band from Florida, from this time like that to be influenced by them. But the heaviness, this syncopated kind of slow
Yeah.
pounding riffs.
Just the simpleness of it
there.
all. Yeah.
Yeah,
So the pure simpleness, just that it's so brutal, so honest, so direct, that appeals to a lot of. I mean, it's one of the blueprints of the entire thing for a reason. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. On the other hand, you have in you rewind back then. You have these bands that, were putting albums like what Obituary first album is from 1999, if I'm not mistaken. Slowly we wrote, but they were basically growing on the 80s. So by the time these records, all these bands were looking for the most extreme bands out there.
True.
There wasn't an itch. They were getting what they could. That's one of the reasons, because many bands ended up embracing also punk music or hardcore or whatever, even if they weren't connected directly with metal, because sometimes there wasn't that much metal that would fit their necessities for brutal kind of music. Nowadays you have plenty of everything, but back then it wasn't the case. So I think that's one of the reasons that bands like Celtic Frost, Motorhead, Venom, for example, were it even went beyond the regular metal influence, for sure.
It got big. Yeah, it got bigger because I think it comes down to simplicity. I'm not saying it's simple to play this shit, but it's kind of brutal in your face, simple music. And I think that's the backbone of the entire thing. It's not too complicated to play. Awesome.
But I think that the difficulty is the vibe. Take a band, for example, like AC/DC. Those are really simple riffs.
Yeah.
But you can listen to bands playing their stuff, but it's not like that. It's even more difficult. Yesterday I was speaking to somebody about Winter, Into Darkness album.
Yep.
We were having the discussion about this a Doom album. I say that in my opinion, that's a death metal album, which is mostly focused on the slow parts. And I have two impressions with that record. First one is that it's like an album that doesn't expand musically. It's like, or sonically. It's like, it sounds it has like a short kind of encapsulated sound, which is a bit weird to describe, but it's like a kind of death echo kind of vibe it has.
It falls in on itself. It falls in upon itself, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it doesn't expand. It's like, and it's more about this. A song, and another thing that about that record I particularly dig is or fascinates me is the use of silence. How they use the silence. Playing that kind of stuff is not always easy, because you need to. I have been singing in bands, but I can't play an instrument. Okay. I'm not the best person when it comes to understand rhythm, and I have my limitations, technical limitations. But I understand that there's people who have this capacity or ability to create music not only based on playing riffs, but exactly to know the language of music in order to create in a way that it's a total. It can be easily replicated. You have. I was speaking about Winter, but another example I think that comes to my mind is Vol.1, which is a band that they no band in the death metal history has been able to deliver the heaviness they deliver when they play slow or mid tempo.
Nobody. They are
And
the
you can
perfect.
play.
They are the
Go
perfect.
ahead, go ahead.
They are the perfect match between grind, crust, death, black. They're encapsulating everything we love about. They're equal parts Celtic Frost. They're equal parts Obituary. It's a very, very, very weird band in the totality of music we listen to. But yeah,
And I think it has to do with their influences. I think it has to do with the people, with the musicians involved in them. There was a band with really, really minor lineup changes, which was something really rare. And the way they understood music and developed music.
Yeah.
So I think Celtic Frost is one of the quintessential bands of metal in that. I think they were one of the first ones that were also bringing, like, I will say, well, that's my personal opinion, okay? I don't say that's a statement from the band, but I was there to say that bring alien elements into the music. They will do that on their more vanguardist side, but I vividly remember the first time I listened to Megatherium, which is not when the collection is about, but I appreciated more Morbid Tales when I because I did do this archaeology exercise about why music is music, or why music is something is important to me. I remember listening to I bought the album CD. I think it was one of the first CDs Person's Noise ever released. I have already listened to that at home, but I remember being waiting on the post office for doing a mass mail to ship thousands of envelopes for for my family's company then, and I had a Discman. I was listening to the album, and the central post office in Madrid is like really architectonic place. It's like a really solemn kind of place. It's not nowadays. It's the house for the mayor of Madrid. Okay, but back then was the central post office. Being in such a solemn building, listening to such solemn music, at an age which is the perfect time for me. I was transitioning from listening just to heavy metal to something, more string or call whatever you want. You were okay. There is these 90s bands, but these are the bands that were before, and I remember all the orchestrations of the for To Big Atherion. Thinking this is not an ordinary band, and I'm telling you, my knowledge on black death metal, thrash metal back then was nothing basically, but you had the good feeling about that, So that's something that I think has been pivotal when the making the concept for this collection. I've been really inspired about doing things the way they have been made.
It's cool to see following the trajectory through the entire label, from the first batch to the first records to whatever you did in between to this collection, has come full circle in what you're adoring, the fact that you're appreciating the past, pushing the future with Baphamatia, for example. It is the perfect next chapter in the entire label, and it's commendable what you're doing. It's down with the most, I guess.
Thank you. The thing is that I would like to make so many things that I wouldn't say I'm particularly good about a specific thing. I always say that I have ideas, and I try to be surrounded by people who can
Yeah.
make them a reality. I wish I would be able to have the ability of being a sculptor of this myself. That would be incredible for me. I love drawing, I love painting, but I can say I'm good at it. I barely don't have the time for that anymore.
Yeah.
But there's many stuff I would like to do, or I would like to explore. But having a label and think, okay, besides doing records, I want to do other stuff. Being brave in the sense of saying, okay, let's try to do something different. That's something that I envision. When I was, the label was on hiatus, it was never like it is. I either say, okay, I quit, then I will come back. I knew I will come back when the time was right for
Yeah.
it. But I knew if I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it full time, I needed to do it in a way that I was going to be able to explore myself in creative ways. I wanted to learn and to be rewarded because of the whole process,
And
and
to
at the same time, sorry.
and to propel the label just more,
Absolutely.
to become more than
Of course.
just a record label. Yeah.
Exactly, that's part of the intention, because there are so many record labels out there doing records that just be another one. Maybe you can curate the best bands ever, but in the end, it's going to be the people who's going to decide which ones they want and they don't. There are labels out there which are tasting tasting the glory because of the incredible work and dedication. And I call them. I'm a total. I worship success. If people is doing things with passion, and they are doing right, I think envy is like is a sign of feeling yourself inferior and trying to deal with death with envy is like a total waste of time.
Mhm.
But I can only have admiration for people who is able to pursue their dreams, and they do their things right. On the other hand, there are labels, merch companies, promoters, like everything else in life, that are enjoying success, and I can relate to that. I can understand why, but this is a wide world. Everyone thinks the way they want. But at least if I cannot be the best, I want to be different.
There you go.
That's part of what I wanted to do. And on the other hand, is that I really wanted to make things in a different way. I needed to explore this. The thing is that when I decided to give it a go, I said, okay, I do digital marketing. Then I'm going to start stopping working with certain clients. I'm going to work half the hours I'm working now, and the other half of hours I'm going to work on doing coming back the label back to life. It has to do with the fact that I was feeling that I was missing the chance, or running against the clock to do something creative.
Yeah.
So it naturally evolves. But the moment I stop judging myself, and I say, okay, what do you judge yourself about the things you feel that you would like to do? Because again, that goes about the principles of black metal. You shouldn't be your own judge. You should be your own king. You should be your master. So, but yeah, we are raised in these societies that we have these dilemmas from no and them. The moment I allow myself to think freely, that was the moment all this arose.
Yeah.
So seeing this make a reality, this has been real for a while, because this has been prototype and test, and I learned about the process and so on. But no seeing it going live. I don't know how this gonna work. But I'm really proud about the fact of, you know,
Definitely.
the fact that Tony Warrior give me his blessings to do this, as I've already paid everything else. You know.
If you're not going to, if you're not going to be the best, you have to be different, and that's the thing I will take from this conversation. Daniel, thank you very much for this 3 hour long journey. We'll probably revisit this when you have launched the collection, when you've launched a few different releases. But for tonight, my gratitude. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm telling you, and it's no joke, Mr. Whitefield. I thought that once again, I started the conversation saying this. I summarized this a few moments ago. Anything that is made with passion is something I completely adhere to. So having the chance of speaking to you, having this back and forth about which are our impressions about something that is a important and crucial part of our lives is really something I really appreciate. Anytime you want to have me, I will be more than pleased to having the chance of speaking with you. Would like to expand this conversation if we meet. I think our paths will cross sometime, because in this metal world of us, it always happens an event or something like that. It
Yeah.
will happen for sure. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your time, for dedication, for spreading the word, not only of Down with the Most High, but of the metal of death.
There we go. Until we meet in real life. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Have a great night.
Same for you.